गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय राधा गिरिधारी राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व जय पंचतत्व जय निताय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय रामचरित हरिदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा गिरधरी भगवान की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्र मैया की जय श्री श्री गौर निताय की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna all glories to the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Hare Krishna. So we will continue to read from Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita. We are in this chapter titled India Dancing White Elephants. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Although the devotees requested Prabhupada to take fewer engagements, he would not slow down. It was his disciples, he said, who were finding the pace difficult. One night, after the 8th and final engagement of the day, Prabhupada returned to his room just a little before midnight. For the devotees, the day had been exhausting and they were eager to get to bed as soon as possible. Noticing Prabhupada's light still on, one of them went to his window. Prabhupada was sitting at his desk, leaning back against the wall, listening to a tape recording of one of the talks he had given that day. One afternoon, Prabhupada and his disciples went to see the famous golden temple of the Sikhs. A guide took them around and answered Prabhupada's questions. Sikh businessmen, the guide explained, maintained the temple and its expenses. The Sikhs pride themselves in the assertion that no one in Amritsar goes hungry, and they daily feed dal and chapatis to 10,000 people. This interested Prabhupada, and he observed their massive operation. He watched the group of men rolling chapatis, flipping them deftly through the air into a giant girdle, while other men, using long paddles, turned the chapatis, held them briefly over the hot coals, and then placed them in stacks. This is how to distribute prasadam, Prabhupada said. Prabhupada signed the guest book, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Under religion, he wrote Krishnite. And under comments, he wrote very spiritual. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much. So Hare Krishna. We will continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki Shrimad Bhagavatam Puranam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Parahamsyam Ekam Amalam Jnanam Jnaniyate Tatra Jnana Viraga Bhakti Sahitam Naishkarmyamavishkritam Tachrinvan Supathan Vicharana Paro Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha Bhaktya Vimuchye Naraha. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. And my screen. Okay. So we'll look at two verses today. Texts 10 and 11, which is on the same topic. So maybe I'll just read through text 10 and I can get devotees to help me with that. And then text 11 will focus on and do the group recitations. Okay. So it's chapter 5, Jadavarat instructing King Rahuguna. Text 11, Canto 5, chapter 11, text 10 and 11. Gandhakriti sparsha rasa sravamshi visargartyarti abhijalpa shilpaha ekadasham swikaranam mameti sayam aham dvadashamekahu. So gandha is smell, akriti is form, sparsha touch, rasa taste, shravamsi and sound, visarga evacuating, rati sexual intercourse, arti movement, abhijalpa speaking, shilpaha grasping or releasing, ekadasham 11th, swikaranam accepting as, mama mine, iti thus, shayyam this body, aham I, dwadasham 12th, eke some, ahuhu have said. Yeah, translation and purport. Somebody would like to read the translation?
Yes, Prabhu, I can read. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Sound, touch, form, taste, and smell are the objects of the five knowledge acquiring senses. Speech, touch, movement, evacuation, and sexual intercourse are the objects of the working senses. Besides these, there is another conception by which one thinks, this is my body, this is my society, this is my family, this is my nation, and so forth. This 11th function of the mind is called the false ego. According to some philosophers, this is the 12th function, and its field of activity is the body. Thank you, Prabhu.
Mataji, somebody wants to read the purport?
I'll read the purport. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. There are different objects for 11 items. Through the nose we can smell, by the eyes we can see, by the ears we can hear, and in this way we gather knowledge. Similarly, there are the karma indriyanis, the working senses, the hand, the legs, genital, rectum, mouth, and so forth. When the false ego expands, it makes one think, this is my body, family, society, country, etc. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. On to the next one. द्रव्य स्वभावाशय कर्म कालै एकादशामी मनसो विकारः सहस्रशः शतशः कोटिशश्च क्षेत्राज्ञतो न मिथुना स्वतः स्युः. Somebody would like to recite?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad
Krishna.
Pranam.
Yes,
Drabbo Swabhavashayo Karma Kaloir Ekadashami Manosho Vikara Sahasra Shatasra Kotishascha Khetra Gyono Mithona Shatashu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Krishna.
Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam. দ্রব্য স্বভাবাশয় কর্ম কালৈর একাদশামি মনসো বিকারাঃ সহস্রশঃ শতশ কোটিশ্চ ক্ষেত্রজ্ঞতো ন মিথুন স্বতঃ সু. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam. I'm also trying. দ্রব্য স্বভাব কর্ম কালে একাদশামি মনসো বিকারা সহস্রশ শতশ কোটি শশশ্চ ক্ষেত্র গত ন মিথুন শতঃ সু. হরে কৃষ্ণ.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Okay.
Davya Swabhavasya Karma Kalai Ekadasami Manaso Vikaraha Sahasrasha Satasa Kotisascha Kshetra Gyato Namito Naswa Tasyayu. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Very much. Dravya, by physical objects. Swabhava, by nature as the cause of development. Ashaya, by culture. Karma, by predestined resultant actions. Kalahi, by time. Ekadasha, 11. Ami, all these. Manasaha, of the mind. Vikaraha, transformations. Sahasrashaha, in thousands. Satashaha, in hundreds. Kotishaha cha, and in millions. Kshetragyataha, from the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Na, not. Mithaha, one another. Na, nor. Swataha, from themselves. Syuhu, are. Translation, somebody?
And Prabhuji, please.
Yes.
Thank you. The physical elements, translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The physical elements, nature, the original cause, culture, destiny, and the time elements are all material causes. Agitated by these material causes, the 11 functions transform into hundreds of functions, and then into thousands, and then into millions. But all these transformations do not take place automatically by mutual combination. Rather, they are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And purport?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Mother.
One should not think that all the interactions of the physical elements, gross and subtle, that cause the transformation of mind and consciousness are working independently. They are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Krishna says that the Lord is situated in everyone's heart. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto matta shritirgyanam apohanam cha. As mentioned herein, Super Soul, Kshetragya, is directing everything. The living entity is also Kshetragya. But the Supreme Kshetragya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the witness and order giver. Under his direction, everything takes place. The different inclinations of the living entity are created by his own nature of his expectations, and he is trained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the agency of material nature. The body, nature, and the physical elements are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They do not function automatically. Nature is neither independent nor automatic. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is behind nature. Maya dakshena prakriti shuyate sacharacharam hetu nanena konteya jagad viparivartate. This material nature is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, and it is producing all moving and unmoving beings. By its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. Bhagavad Gita 9.10. Hare Krishna.
Krishna, thank you very much. Share. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा. Just read the 11th translation again, just to get ourselves back in the theme. The physical elements, nature, the original cause, culture, destiny, and the time element are all material causes. Agitated by these material causes, the 11 functions transforms into hundreds of functions, and then into thousands, and then into millions. But all these transformations do not take place automatically by mutual combination. Rather, they are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these two verses are talking about, the first one is talking about the 11 functions, and it is not new information. This has already been discussed earlier. In fact, if you recollect, in Rishabdev's teachings, in fact, the last instruction he gives to his sons, that talks about the 5 Gyanendriyas and the 5 Karmendriyas. It's exactly the same topic. And now Jada Bharat is giving Maharaj Rahuguna the exact same instructions. So we see a common pattern. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the senses, and then Prabhupada in the purport elaborates on the 5 knowledge acquiring and 5 working senses. So this is information that we are given by various devotees to explain the workings. how our mind and senses they work. So here in text 10, there are 5 elements that are given. So what are the 5? First is gandha, smell. Second is akriti, form. Then sparsha, touch. Rasa, taste. And shravamsi, which is sound. So essentially, our nose, eye, sense of touch, the tongue, and ear. So these are the 5 senses. So these 5 have first been mentioned. So they are knowledge acquiring senses. Right? So through them we acquire. And I think last time we had discussed is knowledge acquiring means obviously we are acquiring, meaning what? From external sense objects, through these senses, we are taking in knowledge. So the eyes are seeing, eyes are not giving, eyes are just seeing. So my ear is hearing, my nose is smelling. So we are taking in. So from external sense objects, through the senses, the information is going in. Then the second set is about the so once we've got the information, what are we doing about it and what is coming out? So this is when we get that information, the senses get those that knowledge. What are we activities wise? What are we generating from them? And that is the karmendriya. So here 5 of them are mentioned in text 10. So one is visarga. Visarga is evacuation of the rectum. Then rati, the spiritual intercourse, which is the genitals. The arti, movement, right, which is obviously we move around with our legs. Then abhijalpa, which is speaking. So that's our mouth. And shilpaha, which is grasp or release, or our hands. Now, interestingly, out of the 5 knowledge acquiring senses and 5 working senses, only one sense is common between the 2. And which one is that? One sense is common. So one sense takes in and also gives out. But all the other 4, they are only taking in, they can't give out. Question?
The mouth, Prabhu.
Mouth, yes, mouth. So mouth we are taking in, right? And what are we taking in? Obviously, the prasad, which nourishes the body and the mind and the soul for that matter. And what is coming out is what we are processing with our minds, our intelligence, what we are processing and what we want to communicate is coming out through our mouth. So that's a very interesting aspect, that tongue is the most important aspect of taking in and then taking out. Of course, hearing is also there. So these are 5 and 5, 10. And then Jada Bharat mentions, Maharaj Rahuguna, that there is an 11th element. And what is the 11th element? It is the mind. Mind, which is controlling these senses. So that is considered the 11th element. And then he goes on to say the mind also is kind of subservient to our 12th element. And the 12th element is the false ego. So this is the description of our senses, our mind, our false ego, and how these functions are described. Then in the next text, Jada Bharat is mentioning that now, okay, we've got these 5 knowledge acquiring, 5 working senses. Then we have these 5 elements. So it's basically, he's calling it, these are all material causes. So first is he talks about dravya. Dravya is physical objects that we can tangibly see and we interact with them. We develop the desire to acquire them. So they are dravya. Then second is swabhava, which is the nature, the inclination. Then ashaya, which is culture. Then karma. And interestingly, Prabhupada writes very nicely, word for word, he said predestined desired actions. So predestined desired action. So it's very important, this word. And the way Prabhupada describes also is very interesting and very important for us to understand, that it is predestined based on what we have done in the past, which we cannot change. Because we cannot change what we have done in the past, the reaction we get for that also cannot be changed. But what we are doing now will dictate our future. So sometimes people get confused in the fact that destiny you can never change. And so what do I do? I'm just forced in this situation, this miserable condition. So maybe Krishna wants me to remain like this. And, they become very negative, and they lose all enthusiasm and become very pessimist because the correct understanding is not there. Yes, destiny is there. Yes, it is fixed, but that is based on our past. But what is in our hands is the current situation, present. And based on that, we create the destiny for future. So in one way, yes, in the past we can't, but the next part of what we are going to experience in future, there will always be some reactions that have not yet fructified based on our past, which will come in the future. Of course, that is there. But in principle, we are now creating our future based on what we have around us, based on the knowledge we acquire, on how we have to interact with the material nature, and what is the goal of my life and what I should be doing to avoid any sinful activity or minimize the reactions in my future, for my future. So this is the whole idea. And then, of course, karma, as we have understood from Bhagavad Gita, the 5 most important elements. There is karma and there is kal. So here also, Jada Bharat mentions about kal. And then he mentions that all these causes, the 11 functions, it transforms all of these interactions with all these 5 elements. The senses and their interaction with these 5 elements, they transform into multiple combinations. He talks about hundreds and thousands and millions of combinations. So that's why we see something that, like the dravya is there, maybe the culture is there. Sometimes 2 people see the same thing, but they have different perception. So somebody is seeing, we know the classic example of how there are these blind men, I think the 5 or 6 blind men. They have never seen an elephant or heard about the elephant. They go and touch the elephant at different parts of the elephant, and they form their own opinion that the elephant is the one who touches the feet, the legs. They think that elephant is just like a big column, thick, big column. That's the elephant. And somebody who touched the elephant's tail thinks that the elephant is just like a thick rope, which is very flexible. So people have their perception. And to all of us, we see certain things in a certain angle and understand it from that perspective only. Very few of us have the ability to understand something holistically. Okay. Of course, we may be having specialization in our subjects that we have studied for 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, and we develop some kind of expertise in that subject. But nobody can say that I know everything about that subject. It's very difficult. It's an ongoing learning process. But because somebody knows a bit more than the others, if they try to push other people down or not value the perceptions or understanding of other people, it creates miscommunication. It creates problems. It's that I know more than you. So this is the problems we face in this material world, and that is the primary reason for miscommunication, problems in relationships. So here, Jada Bharat is saying that he uses the word combinations. And Prabhupada in the purport, he writes that one should not think that all the interactions of the physical elements, gross and subtle, that cause the transformation of the mind and consciousness are working independently. So yes, there are these senses. Yes, there are these 5 elements that the senses interact with, and they produce multiple combinations, but it is not just the senses in itself. So they are under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Prabhupada quotes, it is one of the most widely and quoted verse by Srila Prabhupada, now 15:15 from Bhagavad Gita, which I'm sure everybody knows it very well and memorized it. Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto, where Krishna says that he's the source, or he's the cause of our remembrance, our forgetfulness, and our intelligence. So all of these elements that we have or we need to acquire knowledge is provided by Krishna. So he is giving us the ability to acquire the knowledge. And so likewise, when we desire something, when the senses are interacting, Krishna is facilitating that process. If you remember, we have a very nice verse from chapter 18, Bhagavad Gita, which talks about the 5 reasons or 5 causes of action. There are 5 causes, and people sometimes get a bit caught up in terms of, maybe it's my karma, or maybe I didn't work hard enough, and that's why I didn't get the result. But what people forget is the ultimate cause. See that there's a difference. It's not that Krishna does things. We do the things, but Krishna sanctions. If we don't have the clear understanding, sometimes we blame Krishna. Oh, I tried so much, but Krishna didn't give me, or he doesn't want me to have this acquisition. Or we forget the Lord and we just want to do things on our own. And when we get it, we may be very proud that I did it on my own ability, forgetting that my ability also is coming from the Supreme Lord. And if we don't get it, we become frustrated. I tried so hard, still I didn't get it. So Bhagavad Gita says that there are 5, 18:14. It talks about the 5 important elements of action. And so what are the 5 elements? First is our body, the physical body. Second is a part of the gross body, which is the mind. Then it is the senses, the indriya. Fourth is our action or endeavor, that we are actually doing something. We are having the enthusiasm to do something with our mind, our senses, and our body. So we need to have the endeavor. So we have to take that first step. And the last and most important, which people forget, and even if they are aware, they sometimes don't give it much importance, is the most important, and the 5th, which is mentioned here, super soul. So it has to be, whatever we do has to be sanctioned by the Supreme Lord to be able to function. And this is exactly the same concept that Jada Bharat is mentioning to Maharaj Rahuguna here, that ultimately everything is happening under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he is the witness and the order givers. The next line Prabhupada writes, very important. The different inclinations of the living entity are created by his own nature or his expectations. And he is trained by the Supreme Personality of Godhead through the agency of material nature. So our inclinations are created by our own nature and our own expectations. So our nature, can we change? Can we change our nature? So if we have certain inclination or our nature, can we change? And if we have expectations, can we change our expectation? What do you feel? Can you change expectation? And can you change your inclination or your nature? Is it changeable?
Yes, we can change.
We can change? Okay.
Yes.
Everybody feels like that, or somebody feels, no, we can't. We are born with this nature and you're going to die with this nature. You're stuck. Yeah. So people who are pessimistic, they feel like that, or they don't have the right knowledge. They're in ignorance. They feel like that. Yes, nature cannot, it's very difficult to change nature. It is not that it cannot change it. It is very difficult to change nature and your natural inclination. And in one way, it is not that we need to change it. Sometimes people have the wrong understanding that when we have a certain nature, so say, and it's exactly the same idea that Urmila Mataji has come up with this career dharma from Bhagavad Gita and the scriptures, where it is good to identify the nature or inclination of the child, which was the duty and responsibility of the teacher in the past. But now, it's just, it's left only to the kids. And even parents sometimes don't intervene, or if they intervene, they get very pushy towards one profession, completely sidelining the natural inclination of the child. So the teacher or the guide or the parent's job is not to push children towards one profession. It is for them to help the child discover their inclination, to discover their natural, normal nature. So discovering nature is more important than understanding whether my nature is good or bad and should I change it or not. So that's a wrong understanding. Correct understanding is, what is my nature? Some people, you see some children, when, when they are playing, they are not very much interested in just playing, but they may want to, control that, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? Other kids are playing. They may say, okay, you play with this, you play with this, you play with this. So they have got a bit of controlling nature. So they are the administrative, kind of a Kshatriya nature. Some children, they are very quiet. They are doing their own thing. They are more interested in reading books. They are interested in hearing stories. Of course, everybody is interested, but they are more interested. So they have more of a very, very Brahmanical kind of nature. I'm just giving very broad examples. It may not be exactly the case. But what I'm trying to say is, by observing how the children behave, how they interact with other children and with the adults, gives us a good indication of their natural inclinations. And based on that, we have to engage the child appropriately. That is how the child learns how to use this nature, this natural inclination, to fulfill the goal of human life. And the goal of human life is not just going back to Godhead straight away, because it's not going to happen. That's the ultimate goal, agreed. But before we go back to Godhead, which is the ultimate goal specified by Shastras and what we are told, we also have to live our life in this material world. So to live life in this material world, we have to understand how this material nature functions. How are my senses functioning? How is my mind functioning? What is the nature of this material world? What do I need to do? If I have problems, if miseries come up, how should I react? So sometimes we get a bit caught up, forget all of these things, just chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead. Now, we are not at that level where we can, just like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, he just sat and he chanted. And of course, he was Param Siddha. And he's an eternal associate. So there are exceptions. But we should not imitate. And that's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, in fact, he even said, Nirjan Bhajan, that don't even go to a solitary place and pretend to be a big devotee and chant Hare Krishna on your own. It's not going to work. Your mind will trick you and you will fall down. So whatever bhakti we practice, it has to be done in association. Most of us are also grihasthas. We've got duties, responsibilities, and we have to interact with this material world. So we also need to understand the workings of the karmendriyas, the jnanendriyas, the mind, and how by discovering our true nature or inclination, how we can redirect our mind and senses to ultimately have a plan of action to move towards what instructions Krishna is giving through the pages of Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam, and ultimately make our life, as Prabhupada says, perfect or successful. So there is a nice verse in that regard, which we read in Ishopanishad, that mentions, sometimes devotees get a bit confused on this. I think it's 11. Mantra 11, Ishopanishad. So it says, Vidyam cha yastad vedo bhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyayamritam ashnute. So translation is, one who knows the process of nescience and transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy immortality, enjoy the blessings of immortality. So we need to know what is knowledge, and we also need to know what is nescience. So it doesn't mean because it's nescience we should not know anything about it. Yeah, of course, we should not spend too much time, energy, or make that the focus of our life, but we should know about it. So in that context, knowing how the mind, senses work is very, very important. So that's a difference between what a Veda Vada is or a Tattva Vada is. So Veda Vada, people who are following the Vedas, they are not necessarily engaging in the process of bhakti. So they are only interested in dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. In fact, very few people are even interested in moksha. True or no? Today, people who are so-called spiritualists or religionists, what are they interested in? They are not even interested in dharma. They are interested in artha and kama. They are actually interested in kama. So they understand from Vedas, if they are following correctly and they have the understanding, that for kama or for sense gratification, what do I need to do? I need to have artha. I need to have opulence. I need to have money. So to have opulence or money, I need to please the devatas who can bestow the opulence on me. So I follow dharma. So most of the people are kama today in society. And because they want to have kama, they want to have artha. So all of the society today are only focused on two things: artha and kama, artha and kama, artha and kama. And then when they get frustrated, because anybody who is just focusing on these two things will get frustrated. How long can you do all your life? So they don't know what to do, because they don't trust anybody who is they don't believe anybody is a true spiritualist or has the right transcendental knowledge. Maybe they have been cheated in the past or they've got bad experience. So they don't want to do anything. At the same time, they don't know where to find the real stuff. Some people who do find, they engage in dharma only to have artha so that they can have kama. And out of all the people who engage in dharma, only a few, like very limited, they are even interested in moksha. That too, they're interested in moksha. Why? Because they have had enough of problems in this material world. Why nikalo yaar? I mean, let's get out of this material world. So it is not about my connectivity or relationship with the Supreme Lord or my intent to please the Lord. My intent is what? I was enjoying, I had opulence, I am engaging in dharma to get my opulence, and now I want to get out of this world for myself, because I'm fed up of going through so much miserable conditions that I want to get up. So it is not about the Lord, it's about me. So even moksha, some people who are endeavoring, it is also purely based on self. I mean, we cannot maybe directly call it sense gratification, but it is a form where you have experienced everything in this material world and now you want to get out of the world so you don't face miseries. So this dharma, artha, kama, moksha is completely corrupted or understood in not the right context. in any case, for a devotee, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had given the fifth Purushartha. And what is the fifth Purushartha? There are these called Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. They are called the four
Four.
Purusharthas. Which is the fifth?
Krishna Prem Prabhu.
Yes,
Love of God.
or Bhakti.
Bhakti.
So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned that our fifth Purushartha is Bhakti. And for a devotee, we don't have to worry about Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. We go straight into Bhakti. And when we are performing Bhakti, automatically Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha is being taken care of. It's just like how the example given in Bhagavatam, when we put water on the roots of the tree, all parts of the tree are not nicely nourished. Similarly, when we are giving or we are engaging in bhakti, all of these things are taken care of. Similarly, when we are engaging in the study of Bhagavatam, we are actually studying all of the Vedanta Sutra, the Vedanta, the Vedas, everything is covered just by one literature that Srila Vyasadeva has given us. And sometimes we don't take it very seriously because it is so easily available. Bhakti, Prabhupada has made bhakti so much accessible, so much easy, so simple, but we do not give it that value, because it's not involving yagyas and big things and big items and big preparations. We don't give it importance. And because it is so simple, we start, and then eventually even that becomes a bit of a bother for us. Oh my God, I have to spend so much time, chant and read. Nobody has time to read. We have to. Why? Because we have to understand. Remember this statement. Bhakti is all powerful and Krishna is all merciful. I'll repeat that. Bhakti is all powerful and Krishna is all merciful. Means what? Bhakti is most powerful. If you are engaging in bhakti, nothing else is required. And Krishna is most merciful. We can, in trying to follow the principles of bhakti, in trying to sincerely do devotional service, we may fall. We may not be successful straight away. But Krishna is merciful. He will give us. So that sanction that is we are talking about here, Jada Bharat is telling Maharaj Raghuguna, is exactly the point that we need to tell our own selves. That yes, everything is sanctioned by Krishna, but I have one thing. Krishna is waiting for me to engage in one thing. That is mine. That is my individuality, which nobody can take away from me. And we've discussed this before. So what is something that belongs only to me that nobody can take away? And Krishna is happy to give that decision or that aspect to us. It is mine. Nobody can steal away from me. Nobody can take away from me. Nobody can influence me once I have that. And what is that element that we have, which is truly ours? Even Krishna does not interfere with that. He facilitates that, but he does not interfere. Anybody? What is that word? What is that element? What is that part that we have complete control over?
Free will, Prabhu.
Sorry?
Free will.
Free will, yes.
Partial independence, Prabhu.
Yes. And what is that manifested? So yes, you're right. Free will. So what is that manifested through?
Intelligence.
Yeah, intelligence is there. And of course, we need to have something to feed the intelligence.
Mind.
Mind.
No.
Yeah. Now, what is that feeling or that? I'm looking for that word specifically. The reason why we are here in this material world.
Desire.
Yes, 100%. It is the desire that has brought us into this material world, right? We don't belong here. So Krishna does not interfere with our desire. So why are we reading all of this and understanding all these Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas and mind and ego and 12 elements and 11 elements? For what? Ultimately, for what do we need so many things, so much information? It is to understand and redirect our desires. It is the desires that has brought us into this prison house. And it is our desires only that can take us out of this prison house. So just like to come to this prison house, we had desires, and Krishna facilitated that. He okayed it, that's why we could come here. Now we cannot blame him and say, "Oh, I had a desire, Krishna. You know, you should have you should have stopped me." Why will Krishna stop? He's given us the free will. So rather than thinking, why did he allow me to come here in the first place, we should be thinking, okay, I'm here and it's my desire. Now that I've understood I'm in jail and I've understood that I need to get out, and I also know the process of getting out, I have to just develop the desire to get out. Simple. And if I develop the desire, then automatically my actions will move in that direction. And Krishna, seeing my endeavor, like we just looked at those 5 factors of action, he will sanction. So Krishna will facilitate us getting out of this material world. So that way, when we understand that the desires have to be redirected, then these senses come into play. Then we know what I should see, what I should see. We cannot restrict completely, like ban something. It's not going to happen. But we choose what we want to see. We choose what we want to hear. We become choosy what we want to eat, right? So just by and Prabhupada has facilitated this so wonderfully. I mean, if it was not for Prabhupada giving us the practical instructions on how to follow the Pancham Purushartha, we would have been lost. We would have to think, oh my God, should I listen to this or should I listen to that? Oh, should I see this or should I see that? We will be confused. Prabhupada has made it very simple. We should be hearing Krishna Katha as much as we can on a daily basis. Now, we cannot say that whole day I'm going to hear Krishna Katha. It is not practical. Secondly, it may sound very lofty that, oh, I should be doing this. But if we really sit with Krishna Katha every day, throughout the day, how many of us will relish Krishna Katha like Maharaj Parikshit? I don't know about you, but we all have a threshold. Maybe 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. One day we may sit the whole day. But if you have to do every day and only listen to Bhagavatam, and some of you may be wanting to do that, but very few are wanting to have the desire to only hear Bhagavatam throughout the day, because our senses are not yet that purified. We want some gratification simultaneously. Yes, we had high level of gratification with following bhakti. The gratification came down and bhakti went up, but we still have, it's not zero. We still have some. So by understanding these senses, these workings, all we have to do is somehow or the other dovetail these senses with more of what Prabhupada has told us. So he's given us the whole morning program, whereby all our senses are directed towards Krishna. And then when we are out in this material world doing our work or whatever it is, because in the morning the senses get purified, that purity continues throughout the day in some form or the other. And again, we come back in the evening and again our senses are purified. So this whole purification process goes on. And when we are associating with devotees, also there is that level of purification. But what we have to do is to develop the desire. Just like Maharaj Rahuguna, see, initially he was chastising Jada Bharat, but when Jada Bharat started speaking, see, Rahuguna already had good values and he had some knowledge. Only when we have some knowledge, some transcendental knowledge, I mean, when somebody speaks transcendental knowledge, because we already have some knowledge, we can appreciate that. If Rahuguna didn't have any knowledge and he was like a demon, he would not have appreciated Jada Bharat and he would not have got down to listen more and accept him as his mentor, which Maharaj Rahuguna did. And that's why Jada Bharat, in this whole chapter, In fact, how many texts this one has got? I think 16. Or the next one has got 16. So it completely talks about these mind and senses and gives him that information. And Jad Bharat, he is obviously wanting to educate and help Maharaja Rahuguna. He did not say this with the intent of showing him his position. He wanted to genuinely deliver Rahuguna. And Rahuguna took it also in the right spirit. So sometimes when senior devotees tell us something, I wouldn't say tell us off, but when they criticize us, we have to take it that it's for our own benefit. We may not be, highly elevated, but if we are at least like Maharaj Rahuguna and we understand the value of a devotee's instruction to us, then we should have this attitude of accepting these instructions, accepting the criticism, accepting improvements that the devotee has mercifully and kindly shared with us and told us to do. And that will pave our way for spiritual development. So at the end of the day, we have to understand Krishna is all merciful, Bhakti is all powerful, and all we need to do is redirect our desires in the association of devotees. And all we need to have the desire. What desire should we have? Parikshit Maharaj has very nicely mentioned. And I'll conclude with this wonderful verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:19-16. Punascha bhuyat bhagavatyanante rati pratangascha tadashrayeshu mahatsu yam yam upayami srishtim maitrayastu sarvatra namo dvijebhyah. So Parikshit Maharaj talks about he has three desires. We said we should be desireless. Rubbish. We cannot be desireless. But we should have desires, the right desires, and have lots of desires, no problem. But we should take inspiration from Parikshit Maharaj. He's got three desires. What are the three desires? First, he says, Bhagavate Anante Ratihi, that I want to have attraction towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I want to feel attracted. When there is attraction, naturally there will be love, naturally there will be service. So feeling attraction is very important. That's number one. Number two, prasangas tad ashrayeshu. So people who have taken ashray of you, I want to have sangha with them. Meaning, people who have taken your shelter means people who are devotees. So I want to associate with devotees. That's the second desire. First is attraction to the Supreme Lord. Second is having the desire to associate with devotees. And the third one, Maitriyastu Sarvatra. With all living entities, I want to have friendly relations. No envy. Everybody is a child of God. So Parikshit Maharaj, before he starts hearing Bhagavatam, he expresses three desires. And to fulfill those desires, of course, the whole Bhagavatam was given. Krishna arranged that Sukadeva Goswami meet him and give him this whole knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, in conclusion, Bhakti is all powerful, Krishna is all merciful. We need to redirect our desires and take inspiration from Parikshit Maharaj to have these three desires and be constantly situated in the association of devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All right. Any questions, comments, additions, omissions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam.
Prabhu?
Sorry for being late. I have just joined just 15 minutes back. Sorry
Oh,
for
okay,
that
okay.
because I was very late last night.
You can summarize fully today then.
Only what I understood from the discussion is all about our desires. The desire allows us to come in this world, and desire allows us to go back to heaven. To go back to Godhead. It is all about the combination of all material elements allows us to make our desire, and desire allows us to choose whether go down or go up. So It is all about desires. You mentioned nicely this slokas of Parikshit Maharaj. Three things we need to follow is very strictly. That is, we should have a test for listening the Krishna Katha and associated with people who have already listened or following the instruction of Krishna, and to become friendly with all of the people, all the living entities. With this, you can redirect your desire in the right direction and go back to Godhead. That is what the ultimate cause of our goal of life. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
No. Okay, any other comments, questions on what we've discussed?
Hey, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for unpacking this verse in so many different ways. It's amazing. You mentioned about the children having the teachers or the parents trying to have knowing the inclination of the child, whether what direction they will take in the future. But it's very difficult in this age, and because there's so much engrossed with the smartphone playing. So, what are some of the indicators we can see that can tell us which direction the children are going to take? I mean,
Yeah, so that's why I think I would recommend everybody to read that book on career dharma, not just for the children, but also for ourselves. I mean, when I read that book, I was myself, when I got the information from the book and when I was attending Mataji's first seminar, I was myself confused that am I this or am I that? Although I've been doing my work for so long, and it's not that I don't like my work, but you still get confused. So it's an ongoing process. So I would first recommend people read that, and Mataji's drawn very nice examples from Bhagavad Gita and Prabhupada's explanations. But Prabhu, I totally agree. It is very difficult because nowadays children don't really interact much. They're on their smartphones and devices, which is, I mean, that's a separate topic of discussion, but it's not definitely helpful for them or the parents. And I know it's very difficult to navigate, but there has to be some way in which parents have to deal with that situation. But let's say, let's keep that apart. There will always be situation, or the parents or the teacher will always have to have this element of observation. How the child is interacting, how the child is behaving, how the child is reacting to a situation. I'll just give a small example. We did a seminar, a career dharma coaching seminar with Umila Mataji. And as part of that, some of you were there who are in this forum. As part of that, even the people who come, who are even adults, they also don't know. So there are a lot of these questions that are asked. And based on that, we find that sometimes people who are questioned, who have come for taking guidance, as a result of answering the questions, they themselves start probing deeper into their own self and discover their nature. Sometimes it's fast, sometimes it takes time. But everybody has to go through that discovery process. And as a parent or teacher, it's our duty and responsibility to help facilitate that process. It's not easy, but if you follow certain trends and we are trained how to observe and ask the right questions and facilitate, it can be done. So that's the whole purpose of this career dharma thing. And once we realize the nature, because Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says that we cannot repress our nature. If our nature is this, we cannot artificially impose. And if we try to impose, it will not be sustainable. So people who are frustrated at work or in their profession or in what they are doing, definitely there is an element that they are not working as per their nature. I mean, it's a huge topic in itself, but all I can just say that is we need to have first the knowledge, and secondly, the time and ability to observe correctly to be able to guide children in that regard.
thank you, Prabhu. It's a big subject matter.
Big subject matter.
They'll take a seminar on this thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but very important, bro. It's a very, very important point that you've raised. It
Well,
really
I've been asking this
is.
question to myself, and sometimes difficult to see what's my nature and what should I be doing. It's,
Yeah. And often there is a lot of misunderstanding since you talked about it. Sometimes we feel that because I'm working in a certain company, which does a certain field, that's my nature. No, it's not. You may be working, say, in an engineering company, but you may not have the natural inclination of doing engineering work. You may be more interested in management work, or you may be interested in research work in the same industry, not outside. So all of these elements are there, which confuses people, and they feel they get stuck. So Gita is not just about going back to Godhead. It is also about how we deal with this world and discover our true nature so that our mind senses can be engaged appropriately.
Mm.
Another important point Prabhu mentioned is that King Raghunatha has a big transformation because before he was very sarcastic towards Jad Bharat.
Correct.
Then he paid off his. So what caused this transformation? You mentioned, he had some prior knowledge because he was going to some place to get some spiritual knowledge. But there was such a big transformation. Is it because Jad Bharat was very pure, or Maharaj Raghunatha had some prior knowledge or respect? So maybe you can comment. I mean,
Sure.
sometimes devotees also change by just few words as with association. It's a very important point. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Well, let's take an example. Like, say, supposing we are all assembled at the temple for a Sunday feast program, and a person who is just normally dressed, he just comes in through the door, which we don't know. We've never seen him before. He comes in and he's not wearing a dhoti. He's just wearing a normal dress, and he's not very, maybe a bit rough looking, not very well presented. He comes in. What will be the first reaction we will all have? We don't see that person. We've never seen him. We don't know him. He just walks through the door, and as he walks, we all look at him and see his appearance. And what is the first thing that will come in our mind by looking at his not so well presented self? Who is this person? I don't know why these people even come to the temple. They don't even know how to dress. It's natural, Prabhu. It's not that we are criticizing that person. It's a natural thing. So it will come. And then once that person comes in, and then we don't know, but maybe it was arranged by management or something. They come and they sit in the chair that has been maybe given to them when they come in. And then when they start speaking, we feel, oh my God, he starts quoting shlokas or talks about this Gyanendriya, Karmendriya. And then we start hearing him and we feel, oh my God, he's such a knowledgeable person. Wow, I want to hear more. Now we become very humble, and then we become more receptive because we can understand what he's saying is valuable. But how do we understand? Because we have got some knowledge, some information by which we can assess that what he's speaking is really valuable for us. And immediately there's a transformation, is it not? We become receptive. And that's exactly the journey that Maharaj Raghunatha went through. He obviously had some knowledge because it's not that suddenly. And also the power and purity of Jada Bharat. Any devotee has that ability to transform lives of people just by sharing this Krishna Katha that they have relished and they've acquired over a period of time. So this association with devotees is very, very important. I just had an example, Prabhu, to explain how this phenomena happens of drastic transformation, even as devotees.
Thank you. Yeah, I think sometimes we judge the book by the cover. So
Yes.
it's very misleading, can be very damaging to ourselves too. Just by the outlook of the person, without knowing his internal feelings, we just judge by his dress. Very. That's what Maharaj Raghunatha did initially.
Yes,
That's why his
yes.
dress, he underestimated the glory of
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
Just judging the book by the cover is very dangerous. Thank you.
Which interesting point you mentioned. If Jada Bharat perhaps was not disabled and if he was wearing a nice dress, not like kingly dress, but even a nice, simple, clean dress, then maybe Maharaj Raghuna would not have chastised him so much, although it's not mentioned from that perspective. But we're just thinking that sometimes those things make a difference. So he thinks he's just a useless fellow. So, and on top of that, he's upsetting all my other Palki carriers. So he must be really bad because he's inside. He's not seeing all the details. So he assumed that based on appearance and based on what other people were telling him about Jada Bharat. But when Jada Bharat opened his mouth, he was like, wow, my God, what have I done? And that's that, my God feeling.
Thank you, Prabhu. Because we still got a few minutes. Anybody wants, we are on overtime by 10 minutes. If no one has any reflection,
I
we
think it's
can
good.
close it.
Hit 40 people.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, one question. That book is available in our temple? That Career Dharma?
Just check with Bhavasati Mataji.
Bhavashanti Mataji.
It
Okay.
is, if that it's available, or I
Mhm.
know she has it in Amazon, and it may be also available as an ebook.
Okay.
If anybody is interested, just speak to Bhavasati Mataji, or you
Sure.
can let me know also.
Okay, sure.
I am in touch with Urmila Mataji. So it's
Okay.
it's a great book to read, to discover. You may not, after reading this book once, discover it straight away, but there are now a lot of coaches that Mataji has trained in Auckland.
Mhm.
So one of the coaches can help if you're really keen and want to understand that aspect, to discover the true nature.
Okay. Thank you,
And in
Prabhu.
school, it's becoming part. So one
Good.
teacher has been trained in the school, and all kids going to Hare Krishna school will go through that process
Wow.
of discovery.
Very good. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, we'll end the class as well. Thank you very much. Vancha
Yes, Panchakalpataruscha,
Vasubhubhyo Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai He Guru Suhrit Krishna Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Thank you very much.
All
Prabhu.
glories
Hare
to the
Krishna.
Supreme
The glorious
Personality.
Dasa
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.